Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news as it's match day as well. Ronaldo returns. We'll be talking about that in a little bit, as well as Paul Scholes really praising Christian Eriksen. You don't get a lot of praise about the midfield from Paul Scholes very often, so we'll talk about that. But first thing I want to talk about is Marcus Rashford. Quite an interesting story coming out about him last night. Now, look, there is a retainer on that one. There is a word of caution on that one, but I think it does generate a conversation that Manchester United have got to have. Look, maybe the PSG thing with Rashford was speculative. It was pretty much established that his agent and his brother went out to Paris to speak about a deal. I mean, at the end of the day, people say there's no smoke without fire. I mean, proper good journalists close to that story say that Marcus Rashford's brother did go and speak to PSG. But on the other hand, George Mendes has been talking to a lot of clubs this summer, and Ronaldo's still at Manchester United. But the story we've got to lead on, it comes from The Sun, which I know a lot of people don't rate The Sun, but Neil Custis has been a Manchester United correspondent for many years, and he does get some things right. I think people have to take that on board. So I've always said that when he comes out with an exclusive, then I think it's worth acknowledging. Manchester United are ready to open talks with Marcus Rashford over a new contract after his sparkling start to the new season. How true that is, I don't know, but the fact remains, and we were talking about this with Fabrizio a couple of days ago, Marcus Rashford is out of contract in 2 summers' time. So next summer, he'll have 1 year left on his deal. So United will say, well, he's got 2 years left on his contract, so we're relaxed. But next summer, you have to make a decision, because if he doesn't sign anything, he knows he's a year away from being free, and it's another Paul Pogba or Jesse Lingard situation. So United have to hit this head on. They have to hit this head on, of course they do. They've got to have a plan in place. Unfortunately, I would lean towards the fact that although we have bought some good players in this summer, I still believe that summer transfer window was chaotic at best, and I don't trust the people who are running our transfer negotiations. So I still think, maybe unfairly, maybe not, I still think we are run by amateurs, and therefore I still think we're capable of doing silly deals like this, handing out a pay rise to a player that's really done nothing for 2 years, and a massive contract that basically keeps him here till he's 30, and traps us with a player if it doesn't work out. The positives are, I like Rashford, and I think when you put him on the left wing, in a couple of games he's played there this year, he's actually looked a lot better. But there will be critics who say he's a very one-dimensional player. He's all right if you can get him behind and one-on-one. He's a very good player. But actually, stick a bank of 4 in front of him in a deep-line midfielder and he hasn't got a bloody clue what to do. So that is a big thing that Manchester United should be looking at. Now, Erik ten Hag loves Marcus Rashford. So, look, he is the manager. And if he says give him a 5-year deal, it's the same as saying getting De Jong. People can say we shouldn't have gone for De Jong, but I always said we should do, because it's what Ten Hag wants. If Ten Hag wants Marcus Rashford here for the next 5 years, then you've got to give the contract. But I suppose that's when you fall into that line of whether you do that deal or whether you don't do that deal. Unfortunately, my perception of Manchester United is that Rashford and his agent will be more powerful than Manchester United, and that he will get a big increase in wages and a big deal, and United will hand it out. Well, that's not what should happen at Manchester United. In the days of Sir Alex Ferguson, people were moved on when they were first-team superstars. Whether it's David Beckham, Ruud van Nistelrooy, Paul Ince, these were all players that were first-team superstars, and they were kicked out of the club for various reasons. And no player should be bigger than the club. United have struggled with that for many years, and unfortunately, I do think there's probably some truth in this, and I do expect there to be a new contract handed out. Good morning, Mark. Wishing you and everyone at United Stand a great day, says Martin. Let's enjoy the game tonight. Really looking forward to the game tonight. We'll talk about that in a minute. So, I mean, I suppose the conversation to have is whether I would do it, whether you would do it, and why we are doing it. And I think United have to arrange a contract with Marcus Rashford. They have to do that. I don't want him to run his contract down, and I personally don't want him to be sold. He's believed to be on somewhere between 200 and 250 grand a week. If he signs a 5-year contract, how do you justify giving him 300 or 350 grand a week based on the last 2 years? It can only be for commercial value. It can only be for brand ability, because the last 2 years do not justify a pay rise. Having said that, we did offer Paul Pogba a pay rise. We offered Paul Pogba a pay rise from 350 to 400k to stay last year. That was a year ago. There was an offer on the table. Remember, Romano told us there was an offer on the table for Manchester United for Paul Pogba. So We were willing to give Paul Pogba a pay rise, and he hadn't done anything really in the 2 years before that. So what I'm saying is, don't blame the player, play the game, blame the game. And the game is run by Manchester United, the Glazers, whatever you want to call it. If you're Marcus Rashford and Man United say, we want to give you a 5-year contract with $100,000 a week pay rise, is it your fault for signing it? You might say, well, we shouldn't have done it, but it's not Rashford doing it. And I'm sorry, if I'm Marcus Rashford's agent, I'm saying I want $400,000 a week and a 10-year deal. We'll start from there, because I'm dealing with Man United, who we know are perceived as a circus behind the scenes. So it's not Rashford's fault. In effect, it's the club's fault. And look, ideally, what would I like to say? Because I think people moan and don't give a solution. I wouldn't want to give Marcus Rashford a pay rise or a new contract at the moment. And the reason I wouldn't do it is because I think you have to earn it. And too many players at United get handed things that they haven't earned. I feel that Rashford over the last 2 years has created a massive concern in the United fan base about how his form can just disappear for months. It's great what we've seen from him at the start of this season. And Ten Hag spoke about the positivity and the positive vibes. And hopefully that can continue. But what if he does pick up another long-term injury? What if he does have a bit of bad form? What if he does get benched? Like, has he shown the consistency and consistency in his mood that he's worth a 5-year deal and a 5-year investment and a 5-year pay rise? I don't think we're at that point yet. I think it's way too soon. I would even say, even if he scored every week till December, I wouldn't be handing the contract out. I just wouldn't have the contract talk until at least January. That's what I would do. I'd just say, look, we're not talking about a contract because look at the past. The future is only just starting and let's just wait. But as I said, you might have Ten Hag saying, get him on a 5-year deal, in which case, can you blame the club for wanting to back the manager? It's like signing a player, isn't it? Sign that player on a long-term contract. I don't want to lose that player in the next 2 years. And then it comes down to the negotiations. But look, United are going to pay silly wages because United pay silly wages. I think it's way too soon, but I can understand it to a certain extent. And to be honest with you, I spoke about this in the summer that United were talking about a new contract for Rashford. I know Fabrizio said on Monday or sometime that that's not happening, but it looks like it's happening more and more. My prediction was top 4 was City, United, Arsenal, Spurs. Well done, Saeed. I don't remember talking about that, but thanks for telling us. Don't mind if we give him a contract, but I think we should wait. Delo, in my opinion, should be priority since he'll be out of contract. Rashford has got time, says Trigger. Morning, Mark. Any news on a new deal for Delo, says Mikael Roach. Well, there's a bit of a conflict around Diego Delo. Well, let's do a poll, actually, just before we talk about Delo. Would you give Rashford... Oh, I can't type this morning. Would you give Rashford a new contract now? Yes or no? In relation to Delo, as I understand it, he's out of contract in the summer and he doesn't have the option of another year. Rashford, Fred, De Gea, they're out of contract at the same time, but they've all got the option of another year, which we have the option of another year, so we'll definitely take it. So Delo is more important, but it's not been established yet. Of course, as well, I pretty much know that this Rashford poll will be heavily weighted on no. Amazingly, I mean, I've always been a fan of Rashford. I've always been a fan of Martial. I've always been a fan of Bruno, but I'm more than capable of saying that they haven't played particularly well in the last few months. But they are, I suppose, favourites of mine. They are players that I want to do well, and they're players I've always liked, flair players, etc. But I'm also eyes wide open that for whatever reason, and maybe some of you can tell us in the chat, there are people out there that in the United fan base who just don't like Rashford. And look, that's just the world. There was a lot of people who didn't like Pogba. There was a lot of people who don't like Martial. There's a lot of people who don't like Maguire at the moment. There's a lot of people who didn't really like McTominay. There's a lot of people who don't like Bruno. It's just the way football is these days. But there are a lot of fans that just don't rate Rashford. And I think that taking it away from the contract and looking at Rashford long term, what he's doing at the moment is the best thing he's done in 2 years. He's consistently getting involved in goals. Now, he wasn't doing that. He hadn't scored a goal for Man United since January, I think. And he's scored, 3, 4 this season already? That's a massive improvement. So I acknowledge that. I get excited about that. But people look at Rashford and go, if you can't get the ball in behind, what does he bring to the team? His work rate's dropped off since he was injured, and maybe we can get that back. But I've seen him against Leicester, I've seen him against Arsenal in the second half, and he looks very tired. So he's got to work on that. He's amazing. His pace will hurt anybody. His pace is fantastic. His finishing is very good in a one-on-one situation. I think he is good in a one-on-one situation. But is that the way that Man United are going to play long term? We still haven't seen what Marcus Rashford will be in the epitome of what an Erik Ten Hag side is, which is high possession, high line, and lots of possession against the low block. Does Rashford work in that situation? Well, we haven't seen that yet. So as much as it's great to say Rashford's doing well at the moment, and he is, he's doing well in what is quintessentially a counter-attacking side. Would it not be naive of United to hand a pay rise and a new contract out to a player that's not actually performed yet in the way that we assume Ten Hag wants to play? Because I can't imagine that Ten Hag's going to rip up the way that he's played football and the reason he got this job, which was high possession, high line in the opposition's half, to go counter-attacking football to accommodate people like Rashford and Elanga. So it is somewhat dangerous, I agree, to assume that Marcus Rashford is the finished article in a Ten Hag system when we really haven't played the Ten Hag system yet. So this is why I would utter the word caution to both parties. Manchester United, for the reasons I've just said, why hand out a massive contract and a massive pay rise to a player that's had a handful of good games surrounded by 2 years of underperformance? And I would also hand out a bit of caution to people like Marcus Rashford and his agent and say, look, you might be in a position in a year where a move is a good thing. You might be a Real Madrid, it might be a Barcelona, it might be a PSG. Or you might sign a new contract and find yourself on the bench and then you're trapped. So football can change very, very quickly. And Rashford's obviously had a very, very big insight into that in the last 2 years. So I just feel that caution is the word. I wouldn't rush into anything yet because United are a work in progress and we're not actually playing the way I think we will play. And can Rashford play in that way where you're camped on the edge of a back eight trying to probe them with possession? Does Rashford work in that system? We have never seen that he's worked in. Sancho, yes. Martial, yes. Eriksen, yes. Anthony, yes, because he's done it for Ajax. I mean, Ronaldo, I suppose Ronaldo to a certain extent, but Bruno, Rashford, can they work in a team where you've got to be patient with the ball and probe a back eight? We don't know that yet. I think Rashford will work for now, but I have doubts he can adapt to playing possession football. Glazers out, says Hub G. And Ollie comes in, joy and a great feeling amongst the players with an instant impact but no discipline. Ten Hag comes in, good pre-season but same old United from last season. Now I see discipline and more, says TJ. Yeah, I think we're all loving what's happening with United at the moment. So 30% of you would give Rashford a new contract. 70% of you wouldn't give him a new contract. But we're talking now. We're not talking don't give him a new contract and sell him. I think it's whether we should be doing it now. Can we take a second to laugh at Liverpool? Enjoy it while it lasts, says Daniel. You are more than welcome, Daniel, and everybody else to take a laugh at Liverpool if you wish. For me, those days are long gone. I just, that died a long time ago for me, the ability to be laughing at Liverpool because they lost the game of football. They've won the Premier League, they've won the Champions League, they've won a lot of trophies in the last 6 years and we've won nothing. So I choose not to laugh at Liverpool because I think that we are small time. And I think it's small time to be laughing at Liverpool at the moment when we've won sod all ourselves. And I think Ten Hag would agree with me and those who agree with me on that. We've got a mountain to climb. I don't care about other people falling down the mountain. And even if Liverpool are falling down the mountain, they're still a lot higher up the mountain than we are, let's be honest. So I'll laugh when we're at the summit because that's where Manchester United should be. I ain't laughing at them at the moment. But I have standards, and I think many United fans have standards. And the standards for me are not laughing at Liverpool because they lost to Napoli. I want us to get above Liverpool, and then I'll laugh at them. Liverpool's high line is killing them. Napoli played a dummy run down the middle, freezing the line and playing a ball over the top to the winger. It's easy, says Cameron. They played very, very well. I enjoyed the game. We did a watch-along of it last night. But bringing it back to Manchester United, let's talk about Cristiano Ronaldo. Tonight, Manchester United in the Europa League against Real Sociedad. We'll have the watch-along for you, of course. And I can't wait. I really can't wait. I feel like I've just done a post on Instagram using the Titanium song. Shoot me down, but I won't fall. I am titanium. And this is what I feel about Ronaldo, the footballer. Great opportunity for him tonight. I'm very excited to see him starting for Manchester United and others. But with Ronaldo, I just think it's another page in the book of Ronaldo where people will write him off and he'll prove them wrong. And look, maybe he won't score tonight, but I think what we've seen from Ronaldo in the cameos we've seen from the bench against Leicester and against Arsenal is a different Ronaldo, a hungry Ronaldo, and that's a very dangerous Ronaldo. And I think if we can get that last 20 minutes against Arsenal for 90 minutes tonight, then I'm very excited to see what he can do. Obviously, so much depends on the team around him. He's probably not going to have an Eriksen and a Bruno and a Sancho or a Rashford or an Anthony. It's going to be people. I hope Anthony does start, by the way, but Ronaldo starting. Absolutely can't wait for this watch along tonight. I know the Europa League is not where we want to be, but Sociedad are a good side, and there's the added glamour of, watching some of these players who really haven't had a chance to see how they respond. And Ronaldo's at the pinnacle of that for me. He's at the top of the tree. He's the number 9. I can't wait to see what... he's the number 9 on the pitch. I mean, I know he's the number 7. But I can't wait to see what Ronaldo does tonight. But there's many other players to be excited about. And look, I don't want to be in the Europa League. No one wants to be in the Europa League. But this is perfect for us. I'd rather be in the Europa League than out of Europe. And this is what people were saying. I remember at the end of last season, it was all doom and gloom. And there was some of you saying, I'd rather we finished out of Europe completely and just focused on the league. And I was like, no. I don't want to finish out of Europe completely. And tonight is absolutely why it's so important that we are in Europe. Because... yeah, we've got Crystal Palace on Sunday, and that's a big game for us. And next week, we're going to Moldova on the Thursday, and then we're playing Leeds on the Sunday. So there will need to be rotation. But this squad is so big, it needs rotation. We've basically got two players in every position that you'd be reasonably happy with, whether it's McTominay, Casemiro, whether it's Donny, Bruno, whether it's Fred, Eriksen. There are options all around that team now. But to keep those options ready for injuries and loss of form, they need game time. And this is perfect tonight because Real Sociedad are a good side and they will give us a good run out. So the Harry Maguires, the Ronaldos, the Freds, whoever at Casemiro's who play tonight, they're going to get a real run out against a good side. And that's going to really be interesting to see how Harry Maguire reacts to it, how Ronaldo reacts to it, how Fred reacts to it, how Casemiro reacts to it. This is going to be really, really important. It's a really good run out. Carabao Cup, you could be playing Shrewsbury Town, but this is Real Sociedad in the Europa League. And it's giving minutes and eyes to our players that are not in the first team at the moment in a very, very competitive game. So I'm looking forward to it. And I tell you what, it's a massive tick in the box. Massive tick in the box. I know that, look, Crystal Palace will be fresh on Sunday after a week off. But we've got so many players that need some game time. And I think it's going to be really interesting. No Rashford contract talks should be happening now, says Nick P. He needs to earn those talks, I'm afraid. Half a season of good, consistent form should do it, says Nick P. Mark, we should definitely go for Osman next season. He attracts defenders like glue and gives space to teammates to cause damage, says Z. I was very impressed with Napoli yesterday. Osman went off quite early. It'd be interesting to see if Manchester United revisit that. And you can understand why Ronaldo and George Mendes were looking at Napoli as an option because they're a good side and it would have been a good move for him. I mean, they're second in Serie A at the moment. But bringing it back to tonight, really looking forward to it. I think that when you look at how they've started the season, I'm very interested to see how some of these players react tonight. Jeffrey says, what's your prediction for the game? I think Man United will win, and I'm going to go with a 2-0 Manchester United win. I certainly think that will happen, but I do think it's going to be very, very interesting to see how Manchester United are approach this game, and not necessarily Ten Hag, but I think that there is an interesting aspect to it, how we approach this game, because of course when you look at how Manchester United have played recently, there is a very, very clear counter-attack element based on a strong defence. Now, are we going to do that against Real Sociedad? Are we going to give possession up to Real Sociedad, or are we going to play more on the front foot? So I'm interested to see how Erik Ten Hag approaches the game tactically. And then the second thing I'm really really excited about is how these players respond to it. Because I think some players, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Maguire plays well tonight, Fred plays well, Ronaldo plays well, Casemiro plays well. But does Luke Shaw play well if he's playing at all? Does Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Lindelof respond to it well? Or do we see a little bit of, not everybody's the same is what I'm trying to say. There will be players that start tonight, like Ronaldo, because we've seen him do it all through his career. He will absolutely be convinced that he should be starting for the first team. So he'll see this as a path to prove everyone wrong. But there will be other players in that team who are not like Ronaldo's mentality, who will be, well, it doesn't matter what I do, I'm not getting in the first team anyway, and their mentality might not be as good. So I'm looking tonight at how these players respond to the opportunity they've given, but knowing that they won't be starting on Sunday. Because if Harry Maguire scores a hat-trick tonight and we keep a clean sheet, he's not going to start against Crystal Palace. It just won't. We already know. Maybe under Solskjaer it would be different. Maybe under Rangnick or Mourinho it would be different. But we know the team on Sunday, and the team on Sunday is the team that started against Arsenal. Absolutely 100%. We know that Ten Hag's not changing that team, no matter how anybody plays today, unless there's injuries or something. So those players will know that as well. But they've got to play the long game. You've got to be like, look, I'm better than the players that you're using, and I'm ready when you give me the chance. And how many of those players will have that mentality tonight? It's going to be very interesting. Do you think Liverpool and Chelsea will be able to scrape top four? Love the shows and keep it up, says Taj. Under Erik Ten Hag, no more favouritism, results based only, says Jeffrey. I'm not thinking about top four at the moment. I'm not thinking about titles. I'm not thinking about Europa Leagues. But we spoke about this that in the summer, that we have to take the Europa League seriously. I'm not seeing many people, in fact, we'll probably do a poll on this. I'm not seeing many people say, let's play the kids in the Europa League, because the Europa League, we can do that a little bit later. And I know that people like Show Retire, etc., are part of the Europa League squad, and you can name an unlimited amount of youth players in it. So hopefully we'll see some of them at some point. But we are going to be playing the Cypriot side and obviously the Moldovan side, and maybe later in this tournament when we've got 10 points we can start to rotate, which would be a good idea and be exciting to see. But we have to take the Europa League seriously, and I'm not saying that the group stage you have to play your strongest team at all. No, not at all, you don't. But when it gets to the knockout stage, we need to be competitive for this tournament, because the top four race has become, like the previous chat said, the top four race has become harder. People are saying Liverpool and Chelsea are making it easier. I actually think they make it harder, because at the start of the season I thought Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea nailed on for top four, and then it's Arsenal, Man United and Spurs for the other spot, and I didn't think we were good enough, so I thought, well, it's Arsenal or Spurs. Now Chelsea have had an upheaval and Liverpool have had a bit of a rock. I actually think it means there's 6 teams going for top four instead of 3 teams going for fourth. So it is harder. And Liverpool will come good at some point, and Chelsea have a new manager coming in. So I think top four is really difficult. And you know, in previous years, you could start a season, certainly under Sir Alex, and you knew you were going to get in the top four. You know, you just knew it. It's like Pep and Man City. You know they're getting in the top four. And it used to be like that with United. So if you were in the Europa League, it's sort of like, can we be arsed? But the Europa League for us is really important this year, because you can't guarantee you're getting top four. And if you don't get top four, you're back in the Europa League next year. So, oh, hold on a minute. We're in the Europa League already. And if you win it, you're in the Champions League. So, in order of priority for Manchester United this season, obviously the league is the priority to get into the top four and try and stay near the top for as long as possible. But the second priority is to win the Europa League, because that gets us back. This club needs to be in the Champions League. The FA Cup and the Carabao Cup will be way, way down the list below the Europa League. So if we've got fans going, oh, I can't be arsed with the Europa League, let's just play the kids, I can guarantee you that it's way more, you've got way more chance of the kids playing against in the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup, because this is really important to Manchester United because of the Champions League qualification. And it's also really important because we haven't won a trophy for 6 years. 2017 Europa League, Jose Mourinho was the last time we won anything. That is abysmal for Manchester United. It's not Ten Hag's record. He's only been here a few weeks. You can't blame Ten Hag if he doesn't win a trophy in his first season. But the Man United record of 6 years without a trophy is embarrassing. Well, the Europa League is probably the best chance we've got of winning a trophy, because Man City aren't in it, Liverpool aren't in it, Chelsea aren't in it, Spurs aren't in it. They're in the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup, and look, it was Chelsea against Liverpool in both those finals. So you could argue that the Europa League is the best chance of us winning a trophy as well. So it has to be important to us. Delo looks like he takes pride in his performances and is thinking about what he's doing on the training ground and bringing into the match, says Michael. Thank you very much there. Everybody still glazes out Kia. I don't think just because people aren't singing it 100 times a day, I've not heard any drop off in the Glazer out movement, and I think some people are just impatient about it. But the Glazers were never going to sell last week. It will carry on. There's loads carrying on, and it will still carry on. So you don't need to worry about, are people still Glazers out? Because I can tell you for a fact that there's loads going on, and it's still going on, and it's not going to stop. So you don't need to worry about that. Let's just look about what Paul Scholes has said about Eriksen. Talking about Eriksen, Juan Mata's off to Galatasaray. I don't know whether you'd seen that. Romano was on about it this morning. He's a free agent. There was talk of him going to Leeds, but apparently Mata's going to Galatasaray, ex-United player there. So Paul Scholes on Eriksen, he said, well, forwards know when the ball's coming. They know they've got a midfield player who is thinking about them even before the ball comes. They know he's watching. He's looking all the time. He's always scanning the pitch, and he's only thinking about going forward. I can't tell you how important that is for a number 10. If you don't have that, and you have the players that we've had playing in there who are always facing backwards and going backwards, their movement's a waste of time. So whatever movement they do, it doesn't matter. And he says, you see Bruno, who's so clever to get in those spaces behind the midfielder and in front of the back four, but you need someone to find him, and Christian Eriksen has certainly got that right. For a number 10 to have any kind of influence on a football game, then they need a midfielder who can play that kind of quality consistently. And there was one more quote I wanted to bring you from Scholesy as well. Yeah, that was it about the movement. So, I mean, look, the reason I use Paul Scholes there is because he's one of the most dynamic, intelligent, creative midfielders of our generation in football, not just English football. And he's always been very consistent and very frustrated by the Manchester United midfield. As have I, as have you. He's seen what you've seen, that midfield of Fred and McTominay was just not creative, hard-working, but not creative. And obviously we've dropped Bruno Fernandes in there next to McTominay and hopefully next to Casemiro as well at some point. And it's great how Scholes mentions what the problem was. You can have a number 10, but if they haven't got somebody getting them the ball, they're a waste of time. And that's what we've seen for the last couple of years. We've been playing McTominay and Fred, and they just don't get the ball or can't get the ball to Bruno. And what have we seen over the last couple of games? We've seen Eriksen, especially against Arsenal, getting the ball into Bruno, creativity from deep. And I do think that was probably the role that Frankie de Jong was going to do. But Eriksen is doing it fantastically well at the moment. And Scholes has been so on the point and so critical of that midfield, as is Roy Keane, as is Paul Ince when we've had him on as well. As ex very good midfielders for Manchester United, they know what the problem is with that team, and the midfield has been the problem for a very long time. So to see Scholes coming out and bigging up Eriksen, and we know that Eriksen was man of the match last week, but Scholes, he's definitely been someone that's perceived as quite negative about United over the last couple of years, and who can blame him for that? For him to come out and single out Eriksen and discuss how important he is. You've got the winning formula when you've got somebody like Paul Scholes who's highlighting it and saying how important it is. And it is important because I know Bruno will get the assists and Rashford and everyone else will get the goals, but Eriksen conducted all of those goals on Sunday. The deep lying pass into Bruno that led to the Anthony goal. Obviously the pass into Bruno that led to the Rashford goal. And then his run from deep led to the third goal. So Eriksen conducted and orchestrated those goals. And it reminds me of Carrick a lot. Carrick used to do this. Carrick could play a pass into somebody that would go to somebody that would end up in the goal. And those goals, they're not assists. They're not even assists. Sometimes they're not even second assists or third assists. And what they are is a second assist. So if Rashford's second goal is a goal for Rashford and the assist is Bruno's, the second assist would be Eriksen because he passed the ball into Bruno. But Carrick used to do this. So many goals would start off from Carrick, and that's what happened at the weekend with Eriksen. So it's great that he got man of the match at the weekend, and it's great that he's getting called out for the role that he's doing because it's so important. And pre-assists, yeah, that's what people might know them as. So he for me has been our signing of the summer so far. Obviously Anthony and Casemiro are the most expensive signings, and they've come in quite late. And I don't like saying signing of the summer because it's a very fluid thing. Because in a month's time it might be something very different. But I do think it's almost worth looking at it monthly. People want to say who's the signing of the summer now, but in 2 months' time it might be a very different player because you get players that might, Basuma at Spurs. Hasn't started playing yet, but if he gets into that first team and starts playing well, he becomes their signing of the summer, doesn't he? But right here, right now, Eriksen's our signing of the summer. Malasia's done very well. Martinez has done very well. And I believe that Casemiro and Antony will do very well. But Eriksen's been superb because he's conducting the team, and we've needed this for so long. We probably haven't really had it since the days of Carrick, which is many, many years. Having a conductor from deep, it's so important and fundamental to what Manchester United are trying to achieve. But yeah, I'm very, very happy with the job that Eriksen's doing, and it's great to see him getting the praise and the fact that he was a free transfer. And we said it at the time, you know, there was this discussion about whether Eriksen would choose Manchester United or Brentford, and I think if the job to Eriksen had been you're coming in as a replacement for Mata and will be off, you know, our option from the bench, I don't think he would have left Brentford. I think that it was very clear that Ten Hag said to Eriksen, you're not coming here to sit on the bench. You're coming here to sit in my midfield every game you can play, basically. And even then, Eriksen had to think about it and go, do I want to leave London after what happened to me a year ago? And obviously he did. He wanted that opportunity to come to Manchester United at the back end of his career and conduct a team. And, you know, he's a very different player to what he was at Spurs. At Spurs, he was a little bit more advanced. And we're using him a little bit deeper, which is probably quite clever when you think about his age, although there's probably more running to do. But, you know, I do think if we get the best out of Casemiro, Eriksen's game will get even better because Casemiro is one of the best CDMs in the world, isn't he? Eriksen was a free transfer. He was a free transfer. We will have paid a signing on fee and we'll be paying him big wages, but he was out of contract with Brentford, so he was a free transfer. You might want to check that out. Malacia could be the bargain of the summer. Still only 23 and goes about his business so well. Andy, I mean, people get very protective about all this sort of stuff. In no way am I saying that because Eriksen's the signing of the summer so far that everyone else is crap. I think all our signings have been fantastic so far. Antony scored on his debut. Casemiro is one of the best CDMs in the world. Eriksen, we've just spent 5 minutes talking about. Malacia has dislodged Shaw, and Martinez is a fundamental part of Erik Ten Hag's system, as we know. But you've always got to be careful because Man United's transfer record over the last 10 years is quite bad. I remember the summer that we bought Pogba, Zlatan, Mkhitaryan and Bailly. And 3 months into the season, everyone was saying Mourinho's pulled a masterclass. A year after that, Mkhitaryan was a flop, Pogba was inconsistent, Bailly was inconsistent, and Zlatan had done his knee in. So a signing is not, it's like a puppy. A puppy isn't just for Christmas, it turns into a dog for years. And a signing is not just for the first few weeks, it's for the next 2, 3, 4 years. We need Malacia, Martinez, Eriksen, Antony and Casemiro to be what they are now in 2 or 3 years' time. And that's where it's always gone wrong. Remember the summer of Oli when he bought Dan James, Maguire and Wan-Bissaka. Maguire and Wan-Bissaka and Dan James actually started off okay. Pretty good, actually, for the first 3 or 4 months. Some would say the first season. It was the second season when the problem started and suddenly they're massive wastes of money. So it's not about the first few weeks, it's not about the first few months, it's about the first few years as to whether you are a flop or not, because you can start well and then fall away. But I just sense that something's a bit different now. Gamer says, I would only offer him a new contract on lower wage at around 120k. If he doesn't take it, off you go. Predict 2-1 tonight. Glazers out, says Gamer. What, Rashford? You can't do that. If he's on 200 grand a week, you can't say take it or leave it. There's 120k a week. I mean, look, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen, to be honest with you. Apparently Chelsea have got a new manager. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to leave then because I need to do a video on that. But thanks everyone for watching. And we are back tonight. Well, we've got the road trip with Adam coming out at about 2 o'clock. And then it's the watch along tonight at 7 o'clock. The return of Ronaldo, which I can't wait for. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. Remember, we're live every morning at 10 o'clock, every night at 8 o'clock. And we normally have a 2 o'clock show for you as well. So lots to get involved with. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Take care. I'll speak to you all in a bit.